In a city where glass towers touched the clouds and success was measured in billions, there lived a man who had everything, except the one thing that mattered most. Richard Everhart, the legendary CEO of Everhart Corporation, was known for building empires, sealing deals with a single handshake, and being one of the sharpest minds in the business world. But behind all the power and prestige, Richard was a father haunted by silence. His daughter, Amelia Everhart, was born blind. From the moment she entered the world, she had never spoken a single word. Not once. Doctors assured Richard that Amelia's vocal cords were perfectly healthy. Specialists promised that, in time, she would speak. Therapists tried every method known to man, but Amelia's lips remained sealed. The world called her condition selective mutism. Richard called it his greatest heartbreak. Richard was a man who could command boardrooms filled with executives, but when he knelt beside his daughter and softly said, "Good night, princess," only silence replied. He would have traded every penny of his fortune just to hear Amelia say, "Daddy," once. But no amount of money could buy a voice that refused to come out. In public, Richard kept up appearances, the powerful CEO with the perfect life. But inside, he was drowning in helplessness. Amelia was loved beyond measure, yet she lived in a world where no one seemed to reach her. Therapists talked at her, nannies doted over her, but no one truly connected with her. Until fate intervened in the most unexpected way. Evan Carter was as far from Richard Everhart's world as one could imagine. A single father juggling two jobs, Evan worked as a night janitor at Everhart Corporation. Life had not been kind to Evan. His wife, Emily, had passed away 3 years ago after a brief illness, leaving Evan to raise their son, Liam, on his own. Evan was the kind of father who didn't have much to give, except his time, his stories, and an unwavering heart. Liam, now 5, was a ball of energy. He was curious, loud, and had an imagination that could turn a mop into a lightsaber and a cardboard box into a spaceship. One Thursday evening, Evan faced a dilemma. The babysitter had cancelled last minute. Rent was due. He couldn't afford to miss a shift. So, against company policy, he quietly brought Liam to work, hoping to keep him out of sight. He set Liam up in a quiet corner of the grand lobby with crayons and a sketchpad, praying the boy would stay put. But the universe had other plans. Amelia Everhart had a habit of slipping away from her nannies. That evening, unnoticed, she wandered into the lobby where Liam was sprawled on the floor, coloring a vivid battle between dinosaurs and spaceships. Liam noticed her immediately. "Hey," he chirped, holding up a green crayon. "Wanna color with me?" The nanny rushed in, flustered. "Oh, I'm sorry, she can't. Amelia doesn't speak, sweetheart." Liam tilted his head, unconcerned. "That's okay. You don't need to talk. You can still be my friend." Simple. Innocent. Profound. Amelia hesitated. Then, slowly, she sat down next to Liam. Evan, watching from a distance, held his breath. He had mopped those marble floors 1,000 times, but this moment, this quiet connection between his son and the CEO's daughter, felt like something different. Liam didn't fill the air with questions or comments about Amelia's blindness or her silence. He just talked. He described his drawings, made up wild stories about dragon battles, and occasionally giggled at his own jokes. Amelia listened. And for the first time, she smiled, not a polite smile, but a genuine, belly-deep giggle, even if it was silent. The next few evenings became a pattern. Amelia would escape her nanny's grasp, make her way to the lobby, and sit beside Liam. Richard Everhart, watching from the surveillance monitors, grew curious. This janitor's boy was reaching his daughter in a way no therapist had. One evening, the elevator broke down. Richard was forced to take the long way to his car, passing through the lobby. There, he saw it up close, Amelia, sitting cross-legged beside Liam, smiling as Liam animatedly described how their spaceship was under attack by alien hamsters. Evan stood up, flustered. "Sir, I'm sorry. He shouldn't be here." But Richard, for once, wasn't thinking like a CEO. He was just a father witnessing a miracle unfold. "It's fine," he said, softly. "Let them play." That night, as the lobby emptied out, Liam turned to Amelia, leaned in close, and whispered something no adult had ever thought to say. "It's okay if you're scared to talk. My dad says sometimes people don't listen, even when you shout. But I'll always listen. Even if it's just a little whisper." Evan watched, as did Richard from a distance, as Amelia's lips trembled. A single tear slid down her cheek. Then, in a voice so soft it was barely audible, she whispered back, "Hi." Evan's heart stopped. Richard, standing frozen, felt his entire world tilt on its axis. The silence was broken, not by force, not by therapy, but by a simple act of understanding from a 5-year-old boy who saw Amelia not as a problem to fix, but as a friend to cherish. From that night on, Amelia's voice began to emerge, timid but determined. Liam never pressured her. He didn't celebrate her words as victories, but treated them as natural steps in their adventures. Richard, overwhelmed by gratitude, invited Evan and Liam to dinner. What was meant to be a formal dinner became an evening of laughter and heartfelt conversations. Richard discovered the story of a father who worked 2 jobs, who believed in bedtime stories over material things, and who had taught his son that kindness wasn't a gesture, it was a way of life. When Richard offered Evan a prestigious corporate role as a reward, Evan declined the corner office and expensive suits. Instead, he made a request that would change the lives of many. "Let me build something that helps parents like me, and kids like Amelia, somewhere safe, where they don't have to shout to be heard." Months later, Everhart Corporation launched the Whisper Initiative, a foundation dedicated to supporting children with speech disorders and special needs, and providing emotional and financial assistance to single-parent families. Evan Carter became its face, not as an executive, but as a father who understood the power of being present. Richard poured resources into the initiative, but Evan brought its soul. As for Amelia, she never became a chatterbox. She spoke when it mattered. She learned that her words were valuable, not because of their volume, but because they came from a place of truth. One evening, during a charity gala, a reporter asked Richard, "Mr. Everhart, what made your daughter finally speak?" Richard smiled, his gaze falling on Evan, Liam, and Amelia, who were laughing in a corner. It wasn't money, or experts, or therapy. It was a little boy who whispered to her that her silence wasn't a flaw, and that her voice, no matter how small, would always be heard. The story of Amelia and Liam spread far beyond the city. It became a global reminder that the deepest impacts often come not from grand gestures, but from quiet moments of genuine understanding. A single dad, a small boy, and a whispered promise had broken through walls that no amount of wealth could breach. Because sometimes, the world doesn't need to be spoken to. It just needs someone to listen.